everyone, welcome back to another week of Write On, Portland District Library's Creative Writing Club. We are on to week 2 of our spring session, and our spring session is focusing all on poetry. So we're writing our own poetry, we're reading poetry, and then hopefully we're going to be sharing some of our own poetry with other club members. So last week was our first week, and we did a lot of talking and learning. So we talked about the different forms of writing, which there are 6 different forms, and poetry is one of those 6 forms, which is a form of creative writing. And we also talked about what poetry is, a little bit about why people write poetry, and then we did a warm-up activity, and then I challenged everybody to write their own poems. And I just wanted to see where you guys were at in terms of your skill level. So, you know, are you already really into poetry and so you knew exactly what you were doing, or was this your first time writing a poem? So again, it was just to see kind of where you are at your skill level, and it doesn't matter what kind of experience you've had with poetry. We welcome anyone and everyone who wants to explore and get better at writing and just learn more about poetry. So I am excited to share what we are going to be doing this week. So we're going to be talking about collaging. So we're going to be using some of those old magazine pages that you have in your take and make bag. We're going to get out our glue sticks and our scissors, and we're just going to get a little bit messy, and it's kind of going to be a hybrid poetry writing and arts and crafts project this week. But before we do that, I want to do another free writing activity where we're going to be just writing for another 2 minutes to get our brains warmed up. And then I'm going to be sharing a poem, and I'm very excited to share this one. It's a book in our collection here, and it was actually published during the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's all about staying at home and staying safe. And so again, I'm just really excited to share that with you. And the author has actually answered a few questions in the back of that book where she talks about why she wrote the poem and where her heart was at when she wrote that. So I'm very excited to share some of that with you all today. And then I'm going to assign you guys another little task to do or activity to do at home. And that's going to be using those magazine pages and collaging to make your own poetry. So let's go ahead and we're going to jump right into what supplies you might need this week out of your take and make bag, and then we'll get to our warm-up activity. So here we go, Write On Club members. I hope you're ready for another week of exploring poetry. So you guys should already have your take and make bags, which you got here when you registered at the library. And if you open them up, you're gonna have, your glue stick will be somewhere at the bottom, so make sure to get your glue stick out. And then if you open up your folders that have the Write On label on the front, so if you get out your folders, on the right-hand side, there's gonna be a pile of book pages and then a pile of magazine pages. And you're gonna go ahead and get out that pile of magazine pages. And then on the other side of that folder is the white cardstock, and you're gonna need at least one of those this week because that's where we're gonna glue our final poem onto and give it a title and then sign our name so that we can have a finished poem by the end of our activity this week. So yeah, go ahead and get those items out. You're also going to need a writing utensil and one of your journals, whether it's the composition notebook or the one with Amanda Gorman on the front. So you're going to need either one of these. I recommend doing your free writing activity in your composition notebook, but again, you can do whatever you want. So if you want to use your journal, that's fine too. So go ahead and get those supplies out, and we're going to jump right into our warm-up activity for today. All right, club members, we're gonna get ready to do our warm-up activity, which is our free writing activity. So I have my composition notebook, and I love writing with pens, so I have my trusty pen here. And if you don't remember from last week, our warm-up activity is a free writing activity. And free writing is a form of that personal writing, so the first type of writing that we talked about last week. And it's a form where we share and we remember things. And so free writing is just, again, I keep calling it a warm-up activity because it's just to get our brains moving in the right direction and thinking about writing. When we do free writing, we're not thinking about what we're writing, we're not planning it out, we're just writing whatever is on our mind at the time. It's just a way to kind of clear our minds, but also get our minds rolling in the right direction to write some stuff down here later with the poetry activities that we're going to be doing. So go ahead and just flip open your first page, blank page in your composition notebook. You can date it if you want. You can leave it without a date. Nobody is going to go back and read the free writing. This is just for you and that composition notebook. So again, we're not judging ourselves. We're not really focusing on grammar or punctuation. We just want to be writing, writing, writing. And we are going to challenge ourselves to do another 2 minutes. So we're going to stay at 2 minutes again this week. We might go up next week, so be ready to do 3 minutes next week. But for this week, we're going to stick to doing 2 whole minutes of free writing. And again, you can write whatever is on your mind at the time. You know, last week I shared a bunch of examples of things that you could be writing about in terms of, you know, going to school, coming back from school, things that you might be doing with your family in the evenings or on the weekends. And one thing I thought about is maybe you have anxiety or are feeling nervous about participating in the writing club. You know, you could write about that. You know, I am not the best writer, so I have a lot of anxiety when it comes to writing and sharing my thoughts. And so that's something that I would write about during my free writing here. But you can write about anything that's on your mind at the time. It could even be maybe, you know, you have a pet that's at home and keeps walking by as you're doing our virtual programming, and maybe you just want to talk about how much you love your pets. So again, this is just a warm-up activity. We're just getting our brains going and writing, writing, writing whatever is on our mind at the time. And it's just a great warm-up activity for us. So here we go. I'm going to play that music again, which is going to act as our timer. So the music is going to play for 2 minutes, and then you'll see me again to talk more about poetry and get started with our activities for the week. So good luck with your free writing. I hope it goes a little bit better than it did for you last week if you struggled. And if you didn't struggle, then great. Good luck this time around anyway. All right, Write On Club members, I hope you had some fun during your free writing activity. Again, it's just a workout for your brain to get us warmed up and started for the day. And so again, I hope you are starting to enjoy that a little bit. It should get easier the more that we do it, and the more that you practice, just like with anything that we do in life. The more you practice, the better you get and the better you feel while you're doing it. So the next thing that we're going to do is I am going to share another published work of poetry, and this one I'm really excited to share with you because we only just added this one into our collection here at the library this month, so it's brand new. I'm the first person checking out this book. And it's part of our picture book collection. And again, I just want to remind you that poetry is an art form and it can be found throughout the world. And so just because this is in our picture book collection doesn't mean that, let's say, you couldn't check it out or your parents couldn't check it out. Anybody can check out any books from our collection here at the library, but I just don't want you to have a hard time finding it because it's not in our juvenile nonfiction collection where all of our poetry normally can be found. So if you're looking for this one, it is part of our picture book collection here, and it's written by Kitty O'Meara, and the book is called And the People Stayed Home. So this is one of those where the author wrote the poem and then later on they published it into this lovely work of art here in the form of a picture book. And once I'm done reading it, I'm gonna read some of the parts in the back where they actually talked to or interviewed the author. So we get a little bit of an insight into what she was going through and what she was thinking as she wrote this poem. So I'm, again, very excited to share this one with you because not only is it a great example of a poem, but it has to do with real world events and something that all of us has had an effect on all of us. So we've all been impacted by it. And I know that some of us have had a really hard time throughout this year, so hopefully this poem here can give you a little bit of joy and make you feel like you're not all alone in this whole pandemic-y world right now. So let's go ahead and we're gonna read And the People Stayed Home. And again, hopefully you can see the pictures really well because they're super fun and go along with the text pretty well here. So here we go with And the People Stayed Home. And the people stayed home. So here we have a bunch of pictures of different apartment windows, and in their windows you can see different shadows of the people or their animals. So here's a little kitty cat, here's a woman, here's a man. So lots of people in their apartments. And they listened and read books. And rested and exercised and made arts and played games. Did you guys do any of those things? I know I probably did all of that at some point. And learned new ways of being and were still. And they listened more deeply. Some meditated, some danced, some prayed. Some met their shadows. And the people began to think differently. And the people healed. And in the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. And when the danger passed and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices. And dreamed new images. And created new ways to live and heal the earth fully, so as they had been healed. And that is the end of the poem. So again, this one was written during the pandemic. And next I just want to share some of the thoughts from the author here. So I'm just going to read, again, there's just a little question and answer portion in the back here. So I'm just going to read a few of the questions and her answers, just so you can kind of understand where an author would be coming from, the author of some poetry here. So, talking with author Kitty O'Meara. And The People Stayed Home was written in the early days of the global coronavirus pandemic. For Kitty O'Meara, who lives in Wisconsin with her husband Philip and their 5 dogs and 3 cats, life was quieter than usual. That slowing down gave Kitty time to think deeply about people and the planet. One day, after Kitty wrote a poem about what might happen during the pandemic and after it, she posted the poem on Facebook, and people all over the world loved it. Kitty's words teach us the importance of spending time with ourselves and the people close to us, listening deeply and doing what we love. She believes that when we are kind to ourselves and others, and when we use the special gifts we each have, we can make the world a better place. I would agree with that. So here's one of the questions that she was asked. What led you to write this poem? And I love that they asked her this and that I get to share this with you. So listen closely to her answer. I was anxious because so many things about the virus weren't understood yet. I was worried about my family and my friends who work in hospitals. I was thinking about the quarantine and how it might affect us. And I was thinking about the earth. I care deeply about the earth. We depend on her for our food and homes and for beauty too. We need to take care of the planet. We have been ignoring her and she is not doing well without our love. So, very great answer. So again, she was feeling anxious, so she just decided to express herself in the form of a poem, and then she put that poem on Facebook, and then it just went viral from there, which viral just means it spread across the world and got really, really popular. So kind of just an exciting thing that, again, just somebody decided to express themselves in the form of a poem and took it from there, and now she has this wonderful book going all throughout the world in libraries and in homes all across America. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to read one other question here. So after you wrote the poem, it spread quickly on the internet. You heard from people around the world who love it. People from India, Italy, Spain, South Africa, South America, and so many other places. Can you talk about that? So her answer is, a great source of joy has been the people from all over the world who have interpreted the poem using their gifts, music, art, dance, and more. There has been a ballet with people narrating in 8 languages. A children's choir in Italy sang it. 2 people filmed themselves singing it on a rooftop in Spain. A famous opera star sang an original work based on it, and it has been translated into so many languages, more than 20. I have new friends all over the world thanks to this poem. I want to hug them all. So now she can add in Portland, Michigan. We read this during our creative writing club to her list of places and people who have done things with her poem. So again, just really great insight into what happens when your poetry can take on its own life just because it became popular and people can relate to it. Okay, I'm gonna read one more question and answer from the back of the book, and then we're gonna get to our activities for the week. We are talking to each other while COVID-19 is causing us to stay at home, but there are some good things about this time too, as your poem describes. What are some of them? And here is her answer. I think it is a time to go deep inside of ourselves and listen to what we are thinking and feeling. If we are scared, sad, happy, or angry, we can dance about it, compose a song, paint a picture, talk with our family, write a play. There are many things we can do. We have the gift of time to explore our feelings, to figure out what our talents are, learn more about what we love, and offer our talents to each other and the earth. The virus brings sickness, but we can choose to be more alive than ever. We can rest. We can sit and listen to the birds and make art, learn something new, share family stories, or plant a flower, seed, and watch it grow, day by day. So again, just lots of things that we can be doing during the pandemic to express ourselves, and I hope that you are just as inspired as I was by this little book and the poem and even just hearing those authors' words. Because again, what we're doing here in our Creative Writing Club is we are taking our own thoughts and feelings, putting them down on paper, and creating our own poetry. Okay guys, thank you so much for listening to me share this work of art with you, and we're gonna go and talk about what we did last week and then jump into our new activity for the week. So last week, I challenged every one of you to write your own poems. And again, this could have been just a few lines of poetry within your poem. It could be a whole page worth of a poem. It does not matter the length of your poem. It's not a contest to see who can write the longest poem. It's just about creating a poem and sharing that with the world. Or you can just keep it to yourself. But in this case, I'm hoping that you share some of your poetry that you write throughout this club with me. And even if you don't want to share it with the rest of the members, I would love to see some emails from you guys with your poetry, just so I can see what you are working on. And if you want some feedback, I can give you feedback. Chances are I'm just going to tell you that I love your poems, because again, it's all about you and what you want to write about, and poetry is just an art form. So again, no pressure, but I would love to read some of your own poems as we go through the weeks here. So since I didn't get any poems directly from you guys to share on camera, I am gonna go ahead and share a poem of my own. And this one was actually one that I did not write last week, but this is one I wrote 13 years ago. So I was in high school at the time when I wrote this, which I was a little bit older than you guys then. And this was, I had a crush on a boy, so maybe some of you can relate to that. But I'm gonna go ahead and just read this to you all, and you will notice, if you listen closely, there's rhyming at the end of my lines. And I'll just show you what it looks like real quick here. So that is what my poem looks like there. So it's got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 different sections there. And it's called In This Heart of Mine. So here I go. In this heart of mine, escaping thoughts are quickly captured. Stand still, as if frozen, time will slow down, flee. For seeing is believing, touched by a hand. The feelings present, constant, are to be, awoken by another screaming force. The beat of it holds steady, breaking ground, as if to search for one specific course, a triumph scene determined to be found. Aware of what is to come, to expect. Here I stand all alone, set free to grow. I have decided, pictured it perfect, when I considered where my life will go. In this heart of mine, I want only you, as space enough for only one so true. So I hope that as I was reading that, you heard some of the rhymes at the end of my lines. I'm gonna go ahead and just read those words individually here so that you can see what I'm talking about. So I have stand and hand, flee, be, force, course, ground, found, expect, perfect, grow, go, you and true. So I love rhyming at the end of my lines. I'm not sure where I decided I liked that so much, but that is what I like to do when I write poetry. So that was one of my poems, again, that I wrote when I was in high school and I had a crush, so that's just how I was feeling, and decided to write my little own poem here. So I hope you enjoyed my poetry, and again, I hope that you will still consider sending me some of your poems in an email so I can see what you guys are working on from home, and if you give me permission, I would love to share those with our other club members here on camera sometime. So if you get brave enough and you want to share with all of us, please send me an email and I will go ahead and make sure to include those in our videos here. Okay, we're gonna actually jump into our weekly activity now. So go ahead and get all those supplies out and ready to go that I talked about at the beginning, your cardstock, your glue stick. You will need a pair of scissors. I don't think I said that in the beginning. So if you don't already have a pair of scissors out, make sure to go and get that before we get started with our actual activity for today. All right, Right On Club members. So we are jumping into our actual activity for the week, and what we're going to be doing is we are going to be collaging to make our own poems. And if you haven't ever collaged before, basically the gist of what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking those old magazine pages, we're going to be cutting them up and taking all the words out of them, and then we're going to mix them up and pick which ones are our favorite and mix and match them and write our own poetry by using magazine cutouts. And so that's where our cardstock, that piece of white paper, and the glue stick will come into play when we actually make our final drafts. So we're quite a few steps away from using our glue sticks and the cardstock, but you will need your scissors and those magazine pages here in just a minute But first, I want to talk about what actually collaging means, because some people don't know kind of the history behind it or where that comes from. So I went to the Poetry Foundation online, which is poetryfoundation.org, and I've been looking through some of their resources, and they actually had collaging as one of their poetry topics. So I printed off the definition here, which I'm just gonna kind of summarize for you. But basically, so the word collage, it's spelled C-O-L-L-A-G-E, and it actually comes from a French word, coller, which meaning to paste or glue. And basically what collaging is it's just, again, taking a bunch of different pieces from newspapers, magazines. You could even have old pictures. You can do collaging in a bunch of different ways. It doesn't just have to be poetry, obviously. You could just do collaging for fun and just take a bunch of old pictures. So it's just whenever you mix a bunch of different mediums, glue them all together into a new form of art. So in visual arts, it's a technique that involves juxtaposing, which just means putting in a specific order, photographs, cuttings, newspapers, or other media on a surface. And if you have magazines at home that you want to use, or you wanted to use newspaper to keep it black and white, you can get all of your own supplies out and do your own collaging. So you can add to the supplies that we've given you in your take and make bags. The take and make bags are just kind of a starter kit to get you started and all the necessary things, but if you have things at home that you want to use, please feel free to go and grab those and include those in your works of art and in your poetry. So that is just a little bit of the history of where the word collage comes from and what it means. So what I'm gonna ask that you do is we're gonna take out our magazine pages, and then I have my trusty pair of scissors here, and I'm just gonna start by cutting out the words. And honestly, the bigger the words, the more fun it is gonna be to collage. So for instance, on this page, I'll just show you an example. On this one, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut out find the hidden animals, but like these smaller words, I'm not gonna cut those out necessarily. And then like on the back side here, it says, you know, sweet facts about chocolate. I'm definitely gonna cut those words out. But then down here, the smaller stuff, I'm probably not gonna cut that out. So the bigger the words, the better. But you can, again, this is art, it's poetry, you can do whatever you want. So I'm just recommending, though, that it's a lot more fun if you use the bigger words. But again, you can do whatever you want. Surprise us all. So I'm just gonna sit here and start cutting these out, and I recommend that you go through and cut out as many words as you can to start with. That just makes it so that you have one big pile when you're actually going to write your poetry. You don't really want to, you know, start working on your poem and then go back and cut out more words. It's just easier if you just cut them all out at once, or try to cut out as many as possible. I know you have quite a few magazine pages, and we are going to be doing this again, so maybe you want to save half your magazine pages, or again, you could cut all your words out and then have extras to use for next time. And then I just recommend that even though you may have decided, oh, I've cut out all the words for this one, keep the scraps, because again, we're going to be doing collaging again, and you never know what you're going to want to recycle or reuse. So just hold on to any scraps, keep them in your take and make bag. That's why we gave you the bag, the folder, your journals, everything to keep everything safe. So just start working on cutting out the words from all your magazine pages, and then I'll show you what we're going to do here next when we're done cutting. so you can see in front of me, I spent a good 5 minutes or so cutting out just a handful of magazine pages here. And again, I tried to stick to the big words on the pages. And if I had more, I could probably keep doing this all day, but I'm gonna cut myself off here and stop with the magazine cutting. So once you have all your words cut out, what I'm gonna recommend that you do is lay them all out in front of you, just like I am here. I'm just kind of organizing them so I can see them all right upside the right way. And let's say, again, you don't have to, but what I recommend is, let's say like if you cut out something like this, you can either, what you can do is you can either keep it, find the hidden, just like that, or you could cut it into find the hidden, so 3 words rather than 1 altogether here. And that, again, it'll just make actually collaging your poetry together a little bit more fun in the process. So I'm gonna go through and I'm just gonna continue to cut up all those little extra words. And it's interesting kind of when you see what you end up with. For instance, I had pages from 3 separate magazines, and yet they all seem to be the same color scheme. If you notice, it's all orange, black, and yellow, and then a little bit of green in there. So this should be kind of fun because I think not only is my poem gonna sound pretty cool when I'm done, but because it's all kind of in the same color scheme, it might actually look pretty cool too. So I'm gonna go ahead and just clean up a few of my words here, and then I'll show you what we are gonna do next. All right, club members, now once you have all of your words cut out, I would recommend that you lay them all flat on a table so that you can see each and every one of them. And what you're gonna do is, I know my table is quite a mess here, but what you're gonna do is you've got one of your sheets of cardstock from your folder, and just go ahead and just start taking all your different words and placing them on your page until you find a combination that you really, really like becoming your final poem. And once you've kind of mixed and matched and moved them around until you found your favorite combination of words to write your poem, then you can take those trusty glue sticks and actually glue down your words. But I would definitely recommend you lay them out in the order that you want them in your poem. And then what you can do, again, just rearrange them. And the fun part here is that because we're not actually writing on the page, you can, make one and you can decide, oh, I don't like those 2 words. Maybe I can find something more fun. And then, mix and match. And let's say maybe what you end up finding out is, oh, I need a word and it's not really in my pile here. So what I would recommend is you could go back through all your scrap magazine pages and try looking through them and see maybe you missed something. Maybe you missed a few words that you can cut out and see if they could fit really nicely. So it's almost like we're building a puzzle here, a puzzle poetry collage. So you have so many different options. And again, I would just wait until you're totally sure that you want to glue them down before you glue them down, because there's no going back once you've glued them. It's really hard to, take magazine page off of glued down paper and all that good stuff. So try to make 1 poetry collage this week. That is the activity assignment that I'm going to leave you with this week. Making 1 poetry collage. And you have 6 sheets of cardstock in your folders, and don't use more than 3 of them because we need at least half of the supplies for another collage project that we're going to do. And again, if you have extra words and extra magazine pages, just make sure to hold on to all of those because we are going to be using those again. And I'm just really excited to see what you come up with. I used to love doing collaging just in general, and then when I learned to do the poetry collaging, then it was just like, oh my gosh, there's so many options. So all sorts of exciting things that you can do this week. And if you have any questions for me, please make sure to email me. If you need more supplies, like for some reason we didn't get you enough magazine pages, please let us know and we'll get you some more. We don't want you not to have the supplies you need. If you have any supplies you want to incorporate at home, let's say you wanted to use newspaper, or you have a favorite magazine that you like to read at home where you know you're going to find words that you want to use, go ahead and use those. And next week I am going to share my poetry collage with you on video, and I hope that you will consider sending me a picture of your own collages. And again, if you send me pictures, you can have the choice just to share it with me, or you can share it with all of our club members. But either way, I would love to hear from some of you this next week, so please email me your questions and your poems when you're all done. And if you are just joining us and you're a little bit behind, don't hesitate to email me. No matter what point we're here in the writing club, you can always email me your poetry. I always just want to hear anything from you guys if you have questions, comments, or to share your own poems. So I hope you have fun with our activity this week, and I so look forward to sharing my poem with you all next week. So have fun with collaging this week, and again, let me know if you have any questions or need help with anything. I am here to help you if you need it. All right, Write On Club members, I will see you all next week on Tuesday. Have fun collaging this week.